this prevalence of using AI too much, right?
I
Um,
do.
uh, no, 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 no. That's fine.
Right.
I think that when it comes to the social media part, right,
Right.
especially, or just in this context, AI is a good shortcut for doing
Yes.
things that you have to do quite often. So
Yes.
whether it's title pages, or whether it's I don't know, shorts or things like that. I think AI is a good tool, a useful tool.
Right.
When it comes to the actual creativity part, right? I it's got to come from the hand of the
Hand
artist
of the
or the
God,
creator.
hand of God. Yeah, it's got. Well, we only use
Mm.
AI for And hi, fans, welcome to the show. We're waiting for Usman, who's always late. He's like a teenage girl. What we basically use AI for here is for the descriptions and the titles
Yeah,
and the thumbnails.
yeah.
We ask AI to do the thumbnails and stuff. So sometimes AI has a problem spelling. So I find that funny. So we'll ask it 27 times to spell one word, and it's just like I can't. And we're like, screw it. So when you see a thumbnail that's misspelled, it's not us, it's the AI. So I find that
Yeah.
fascinating that it can't spell a word. So
I think it needs. I still think, generally speaking, for public
mhm,
consumption, AI still needs a little bit of a hand. But
yeah,
I would imagine at the rate things are going in, within months, if not maybe a year or so,
yeah.
all those
I,
things get refined, and things
I,
will.
I'm thinking 20 minutes, and AI's taking over the world. So
Now you caught me on this show. When I say caught me on this show, is my intention was, as you can see,
yeah,
I've sort of jacked it up for
I see that.
London weather. Apparently, some fucking heat wave is going to hit London tomorrow, right? Okay,
Nice. What's that mean?
but
It's
we're
going to be
but
like
we're
20
we're in
Celsius.
mid phase, Stephen.
Okay.
Here, mid
Right.
phase. If you go outside in London, right, you will see
Yeah.
people wearing t-shirts, but you'll also see some people wearing overcoats, depending
Wow.
on what time of the morning they left,
Okay.
what they think the weather's going to do. You get
Right.
there is this midpoint, I think, sort of like mid-spring,
Hmm.
sort of in London, where you just do not know how to dress. I mean, for
Naked.
a whole day. For a whole
Right. Right.
day. Of
Right.
course, you could dress for moments. How do you dress for a whole day when you haven't got a clue what the weather's going to do? And so, my favorite go-to, just sharing is caring,
Please share to the
is
fans.
leather. So I go into the leather jacket when I don't know what's going on. I go into leather jacket mode.
Can I tell you
Uh,
my favorite is leather as well? When I go to Helga's House of Pain, that's probably
that's
a
right.
different type of leather.
I've heard
Yeah.
these things on the
On the dark
on the
web.
hidden web. I've seen photos as well. I'm
Yes,
not at
they're
liberty to
scary.
publish those photos.
Yes, we're not, but we can make that AI generated alligator for you later. So we'll do that. No, I mean, when I lived in New York and you didn't know the weather, what I would always tell people is you can always take clothes off. So you know what I mean? Like I can dress
Yeah,
if
the
it's chilly in the
layers.
yeah, it's you just layer yourself. So it's not a big deal. And if you have a car, it's not a big deal or an office. But I mean, if you're walking around and taking the tubes everywhere, that does become a pain in the
Yeah,
ass.
you're sort of metropolitan living, which is
Hmm.
very changed. Has changed. So metropolitan living means you dress to go out, use the
Right.
underground, use this, use the
Yep.
tube, use taxis. You could drive in London, yeah, if you feel like it. London is not a pleasure in any
No,
sense to drive in anymore.
it wasn't a
Um,
pleasure back in the day to
the
drive in.
pleasure's gone out of it.
I
Sorry?
never. When I used to. When I first went to London, I drove in it, and then I realized it was just easier to hire a driver because there was never a pleasure to drive in London for me. That was
But
always
no,
a
for
pain
us
in the
it
butt.
was. For us is
Okay.
the one of the most exciting things, like sort of as a late teenager into my 20s when I got my
Right.
first car, was that freedom, that autonomy to be able to roam around the town.
Right.
This is not a car show, and you've discussed this with Brown Car Guy a lot, right?
Yeah.
You know
Right.
why cars gives people so much pleasure? I don't believe it's about the noise. I don't believe it's about all these things, but at core, the most
Yeah.
important thing about driving is your ability that when I turn the steering wheel left, I go left. When I turn right, I
Okay.
go right. It's one part that I'm actually physically in control of in my life,
I
or
thought you were going to say the
perceivably in
best.
control of.
I thought you were going to say the best part about a car is a back seat, but different
No,
generation.
I've always
So,
had two seat, two door
oh,
cars.
excuse me. I forgot who I was talking to. Your Highness, please
Yeah,
forgive me.
well,
So,
not. Don't call me Your Highness. Call me King of the World. Now, there's a
oh,
reason why. Now, there's a reason why. I'm going to preempt something.
All right.
If Usman comes on to give you a
Wait,
history about El Rey del Mundo,
which is
El
what he
Rey
said.
del Mundo is
Yeah.
the king of the world.
Oh, wow.
That's what it
Very
means.
nice. Okay. Well,
So
I'm
I'm
king of
giving
all
you that.
Jews.
I'm
So
giving you
yeah.
that before. So before Usman comes off, I
Hmm.
won't say anything. You'll say, doesn't that mean king of the world? El
Here's what's really
Rey
funny. He
del
sent
Mundo.
in our private chat about 15 minutes ago that he would be on in 5. So
Yep.
Princess is late.
No,
So,
there's a delay. There's a delay. There's
a
a there's
Pakistani
a
delay. Okay.
there's
So
a
5 minutes is really an
there's a
hour.
signal
Okay.
delay, and since the Indians have decided to cut the water supply off, and we're going to war with everyone, yeah,
Nice.
we're going to be we're going to become belligerent. Um, Belligerence is in our nature.
Nice. I like it. Hey, is there a reason that you're doing Roy G. Biv with the colors? You're going from green into purples into green.
No,
It's a
I'm not
very
doing that on
psychedelic.
purpose.
Okay.
You know what? Normally, what I have is when I'm doing a show, I've got
Mhm.
a fireplace on my big screen, yeah.
Sure.
And today, I thought, right, instead of I could put the fucking fireplace back on if you want it, if you really want
Mm.
it. You know?
I like the color thing. What is it?
It's just it's my HDR screensaver. So the HDR
Oh my
screensaver is
god.
showing me images around the world.
Oh, okay.
But it's so I can give you a consistent image. Hang on, let's go for consistent image. I just thought it was a bit more interesting, you know.
I
So
liked it.
like,
I was just curious on what it was. I
ooh,
liked it. I like that Roy G. Biv thing going
ooh.
on because I figured the fans that are on mushrooms or psychedelics were going to go, well, dude, this is a show.
You know something? I've never done mushroom. Have you done mushrooms? I've never
I
done mushrooms.
I ate some mushrooms. I've never done a mushroom though.
If you know what I mean. If you know what I
I
mean.
know what
It's
you mean.
the
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
hallucinogenic. There he
wait,
is. There he is.
there,
There is the
Princess is
Hello,
here with
our
us.
gentlemen.
man in
What?
Havana. Our
Wait,
man in
wait, wait,
Havana.
wait. Here it is. Princess is here. Um, so 5 minutes usually means 300 seconds, not
I
753 seconds.
what I
No, no,
like,
you forgot.
what I'm
You forgot.
enjoying,
We
what
were
I'm
talking.
enjoying about this
You forgot. We
banter.
were talking about 5 minutes Pakistan Standard Time. So you
I
need to
didn't
shut
realize
up.
that.
Well, I was just telling Stephen that since India has decided to cut off the water to Pakistan, right? We've gone into belligerence mode, emergency mode, right?
Yeah,
And
I
so
like that.
What
I like
emergency?
your
What
hat.
emergency mode? What emergency mode are
He
we talking
doesn't
about?
know about. Listen, he's in the rich side of Pakistan. They don't know. They have little naked Tahitian boys running down to the stream, bringing water to the house.
Why should I
He
be
doesn't
worried
know
about
from
that?
water. Yeah,
Why?
he doesn't care. Hey, you know what we're going to do for the
nice hat,
fans that
nice
are
hat,
about to
nice
about
hat.
nice hat.
Really? Are you gonna go live? Wow!
We've
It'll be
been
a moment
He's
after
been
hey,
live
just
for the
so
last seven
we
minutes.
yeah, we've been live for 7 minutes and 45 seconds, but
Oh
we're just going to
shit!
do this since
You guys,
congratulations for joining.
both of you don't even wait for me anymore. That's
We
sad.
we
That's
you know
really
we
Did
thought
wait.
about we
We
did
did
wait.
wait. We are waiting. We're here.
We waited, and now we're going to start the show. Here.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Oh fucking hell! Not again.
Welcome to Habanos Saturday, the fastest growing cigar show on YouTube with over 100,000 subscribers. Come join us every Saturday live. Every Saturday live.
All right, boys and girls. Now we are officially live. We ran the opening
Geo,
credits.
everyone.
Geo to everybody.
Geo.
When we started 7 minutes ago, this was full of scotch, and now it's
Yeah,
not.
right.
So,
Yeah, right.
go back and watch Go back and watch the show. You'll
You
see.
talk about me and the princess goes away. Like, by the way, why
Mm.
the okay? This is a surprise, Stephen.
What, you have your pants on?
No, no. Well, I do have my pants on.
Okay, just checking.
Because someone's at home and not in Tom Tom.
No, he said
Here's the problem.
possibly.
Here's the
Oh,
problem.
his possibly means certainly.
No,
Oh, I'm sorry.
no. Well, the explanation is
Well,
this.
yes, no,
The
yes.
explanation is that I am ready to go.
Mm.
Here's the issue. The issue is because this show is so tight in terms of. So the person who gets squeezed on this show is me because it's in London, right?
It's
Steven's in the
who?
morning,
It's
you're in the
who?
evening. Well,
This is a high tea time in
okay.
Lahore. That's
Okay,
like
okay.
the time to socialize, network, and party. And I'm sitting
Okay.
home with my
All right.
boys. That's
Okay.
an honor for
Carry
me.
on.
You should
Carry
treat
on.
it as fun.
Carry on.
No, wait. Can
Even,
you just
even,
so
it's, even it's again a big day. He has actually given up. Didn't give me a bottle.
wait. So why is this show at an awkward time for you?
No. He was asking me a question. I was giving the answer, and everyone
I
just
didn't know
talked over my answer. So
I
now
didn't talk.
I
I
don't
didn't.
give.
I didn't talk.
Now I don't do. I don't give two fucking hoots. Now
I
you
don't.
can go
I didn't
straight to
talk.
the
Oh
history.
my god.
Oh, it's in that
Now you
mode
can go straight to
today.
histories. I don't give two fucking hoots.
I don't. I
That's
didn't
how
talk
I am.
over. I didn't talk over
There's
your
a
answer.
reason why there's a crocodile doing this. Yeah, when the
Hmm.
crocodile bites, he fucking bites.
Right. I
Just
didn't.
watch.
I didn't. I didn't interrupt your answer.
Now watch what
There.
direction this fucking show goes in. Now
Oh
watch.
my
Oh
god.
shit! Oh
Come on.
shit! Oh
Let's
shit!
go. Let's go.
First
Let's
of
have
all,
the history. Let's have what. Play the
Wait,
titles. Let's play this history now.
wait, Steve.
okay.
His Royal Highness, I seek your forgiveness. My elder brother, I bow in
No,
front of
let's
you.
go to the
Can
history.
you please bring on your normal mode?
Wait. We have to wait. He's what you call you. Wait for him to come back,
No,
Yeah,
no,
and
yeah.
then
go to the history. Go to the
I'll
history.
go to the
No,
history.
no, no,
I
no.
wanted to hear. I wanted to hear why this is an inconvenient time. But okay, we're gonna go to the
Yes,
history, Usman.
that's
Usman,
exactly.
are you
History
ready?
will happen later. What about
Yeah,
what?
the history. We're gonna
What
start.
history?
We're gonna run your promo. The history of
Oh,
what are we doing? El Rey Del
really?
Mundo. Yeah,
Let's do
you
that.
ready? Habanero
Of course.
history. Here we go. All right.
His Highness, you did not even change it from Ramon Iones to El Rey del Mundo.
I'm listening and waiting for this history. I'm waiting for this history.
I love
Let's have the
that.
history.
I love that. I love that.
All right.
His Highness, I would not start the history unless we get you in your own mode. You know we
You
like.
might have to watch.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Come on, let's have this history.
All right, Usman, give us the history. Ready? There you
yeah.
go. There you go. The credits. There you go.
Well, for the king on our show, Raza Adil, here is the history for the brand called El Rey del Mundo, or King of the World. And in that regards, I decided that I would smoke an El Rey del Mundo today. This is an El Rey del Mundo, which, see, now he's getting back in his own mode. Is Alemania, which is the German regional, the latest release as of now.
Nazis.
Now, El Rey del Mundo, or King of the World, as you call it, is actually a pre-revolution brand. And it was kind of put in place in 1848 by a German businessman, Emilio Umstedt. And he founded the brand. He continued with the brand from 1848 till 1882, when Antonio Iones took over the brand, and then it actually got to its global fame and become a prestigious and an expensive brand of its time. After that, around the late 19th century, early 20th century, the brand was sold to the Diaz Habanos company, and that included this brand and a few other brands. Until the Cuban Revolution, the brand continued, but in 1959, it was nationalized and was taken over by the Habanos SA, as we call it today, or Cuba Tobacco at that time. And since then, the brand has been there, and for a long time, it is one of the brands which is primarily considered to be a portfolio brand, with most of its cigars being regional. The only two regular production cigars are Showa Supreme, which is Hermosos number 4, and Demitesi, which is an Enteritos, if I'm not wrong. That's what you call it, a 30 ringgit small cigar. But most of them are the regional edition cigars, and they are there. This is a particular cigar, the El Rey del Mundo Exclusivo Alemania. If you see the footband represents the La Casa del Habano Bon, or the Cigar Embassy, based out of Germany. This cigar was given to me during the festival by a dear friend Torger, who owns the Cigar Embassy or the La Casa del Habano Bon. And was the one who actually set fire in terms of putting in the private parties in Havana before the start of the festival, giving it the right kind of kick we all needed. So, from my side today, this show and this history, after the gratitude of giving us the company goes to Mr. Raza Adil, I would say this is for you, Torger, out of Germany. I waited for a few months on it. Now I'm going to light it up.
All right, cool. And then here we'll do this. Since is that the end of the history?
Well, wait it out.
Oh, we're gonna wait for you to like it. All right, here we go. For the people on the podcast that can't see, he's cutting the. I'm sorry, he's right here cutting the cigar. So while you're cutting and getting ready to light it, oh, he's gonna light it now, and then we can play the end.
And the
Okay.
lighter is also from them. So I'm toasting the cigar for the ones who don't know yet. I'm just toasting the cigar for now. And
Then he's gonna
then
put ham on it later. So
you just light it on the sides. Try to go round either with your hand or circling the cigar.
and there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the history of the cigar.
El Rey del Mundo, king of the world.
right. And now we'll be back after this brief 10-second ending. And here he is, a group. Oh, really, Riza? You were there the whole time. Come back. So now Princess is upset, so we can't talk global politics yet.
This
So,
is God talking.
oh
Can
my
you
God.
hear me?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right, come on. The fans want to see your face.
The
So
fans can fuck off. The fans
I know we
can
have an
do a
alligator.
fucking rudder, as far as I'm concerned. Fuck
So wait a
you.
minute. Okay, well, and that's because he says that with love. So all kidding aside, so why is this show an inconvenience? Because I know sometimes you're shopping, like grocery shopping,
I
and
was
then
trying to say something, and you both of you have inferred the incorrect meaning.
I did not.
What I was
Oh.
trying to say is that
Mhm.
on this particular day today, I got caught between two different things. I wanted to go to TomTom to do the broadcast because today is a special day, Cuban cigar rolling masterclass. And I wanted to be able to show you guys on video, broadcast directly
Right.
about this.
Why did you not go then?
Then I realized that it doesn't start until about 2 o'clock, which is when this program ends.
Gotcha.
So I was caught mid hesitation between actually going and not actually going, which is why I'm half dressed, ready to go, and sitting here.
Gotcha. And can I ask you this? How far is Tom Tom's from where you are? Like, is it a
30
10 or
minutes,
15
30 to 35
Thank you, sir.
minutes.
by
Now,
car or by
there's the
tube?
so the problem is, had I actually left to go and
Yeah.
shown you the masterclass, I'd have
Right.
got there as the program is ending.
No.
Got it.
So I'm
No.
caught a
You
little
had
bit
plans.
in the middle. If others had been flexible, I would have said, let's do this around 2 o'clock London time, so I
You
can
should have
show
said it.
you something. Sorry.
You should have
No,
said
no.
it.
I don't
He
say
knows.
anything.
No,
I don't say anything. I
no.
just stick to the time.
Yeah.
I got given a wrapping by Stephen. Last time I was doing my fucking groceries, yeah, and he said we're about to start in 10 minutes, yeah. We're about to start in 10 minutes. Yeah, no, but Stephen knows. This is called being balls in, yeah. Stephen knows.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't say this in a bad way. I say this in the
Yeah.
nicest way possible. Stephen knows. Doesn't matter what the fuck is happening, yeah.
Right.
Like a whip.
Yeah, and and the reason, and I appreciate Riza for saying all that, but I will say that we have after the show, at a certain time, I have board calls that I have to be on. So I said to him, I'm kind of locked into this time, so it makes it very difficult to when someone says, "Look, can we do it an hour later or earlier?" Yes, later, tougher. So
By the way, I'm not complaining. This is not a complaint
no,
because
I'm just
I
saying. So,
know, I
right.
know that to straddle 3 time zones,
Mhm.
like, is not the easiest thing in the world. And the fact that we do it relatively successfully
Yes.
is actually a credit all round, right? So this is my serious part of the delivery, right?
Yes.
This
Well,
is my
GO to
serious
Design.
you.
part.
GO
But
to you.
so all I was trying to say is today I wanted to be able to show you guys something kind of, well, certainly not for Usman, because he
Right.
organized his own cigar rolling stuff in Pakistan, in Lahore, and in
Right.
Karachi.
Yeah. No
And
water.
obviously he's just come back from Havana. Maybe I don't think he's come back from Havana. I think he's still in Havana.
I,
Yeah.
But
No.
that's something else. The
Yeah.
hat betrays where his mind is and his
He
heart
needs one
is.
of the Havana Cuban
Uh, I,
smoking
I,
shirts.
I,
Thanks.
I believe
well, not
if
me.
Tony Bennett was still alive, he would have written a song for Usman. I left my heart in Havana.
Wait a minute.
Oh,
Isn't
yes, I
Tony Bennett still
did.
alive?
Tony Bennett's dead. Tony Bennett's
When did
been
he
dead
die?
for. Well, I think on the day that he
And
died.
Wait a minute. I'm
he
checking this because I think Tony Bennett's still alive. Actually, I'm not kidding.
I kid you not. Tony Bennett is dead.
okay, now please, Steven, check it because now I'm
I have
intrigued
to
to
know.
see who's gonna back off.
I mean, because Tony Bennett. I mean, I
Hands
don't.
up.
Maybe he. All right, Tony Bennett. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Bennett. Oh, you know what? He died 2 years ago in
He
July
did
20,
die. Oh, he did
21.
die.
All right,
Oh, he
whatever.
did die.
He died. Listen, this is a true New Yorker. He born in Long Island, died in New York City on July 21st, 2023. Tony, I'm sorry I didn't know it because I still listen to Tony and Frank, and I wish they were alive because that was an era.
Tony Bennett is one of my favorite classical sort of American Italian singers, even more so than Sinatra. Tony Bennett is much more relatable.
Yeah.
Uh,
I like
um,
Sinatra though I think because of Don Rickles.
well, that's the Rat Pack thing, but
Yeah.
Tony Bennett just comes across as a really nice dude, if you know what I
Mm,
mean. Like,
yeah.
he's dead now. But
Right.
so how's the El
Remind
Rey Del Mundo going, Usman?
Yes.
reminding both of you that it is a cigar show. Would you mind
Right.
actually telling us that both of you are smoking cigars and what cigars are
I'm
those?
not. I'm cool. My cigars are sitting ready. I am smoking again for the 3rd time this week. I'm smoking a cigar I'm obsessed with. I could talk about it. I'm totally obsessed
Please.
with something I have rediscovered in the last 3 or 4 days. I cannot get enough of it. I think I'm just going to be smoking that for a long while. Is the Cohiba Siglo 2. This is a cigar I used to smoke. In fact, almost exclusively, I used to smoke the cigar in 2008, 2009. I must have smoked, guesstimate is between 150 and 200 sticks in
Wow.
that period of time. And that's,
Oh, the reason of these guys actually jacking up the prices was you consuming all of them. Ah, now I know.
Usman, maybe a little, maybe this might predate your cigar journey, but so when I say 2008, so between 2008 and 2009, Siglo 2, depending on where you bought it, used to cost between 13 and 20 euros.
That's
Wow.
I remember that.
Between 13 and 20 euro. And the reason I say euros, I spent a lot of that time in that period of time in Luxembourg.
Mm.
And that was, and I'm talking about Usman in the tube, in the physical
Oh,
tube, right? Yeah.
right. So
Um,
which means this is the higher price because the ones
it
without the
wasn't
tube
much
are
higher.
generally
It was a
no.
euro extra or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're talking about a tube one, that is generally 1 or 2 euros higher in any case if you get the one in the box. So it was a not a
Well,
huge
no, this
price.
was at a time where I was much more of a casual smoker. So I would
Right.
buy, you would buy 2 or 3 tubes, put them in your pocket, walk around, light up.
Right.
Next, it was like almost like buying cigarettes, if you know
Right.
what I mean. And this is now 17 years ago, 17, 18 years ago, right? Okay.
What do
My
they go for
smoking
now?
style has really, really changed, right? But
Right.
the reason I mentioned this cigar, and that's what I'll be smoking again later on, and it's not just the Cohiba brand, it's very specifically the Siglo 2, right? Okay. The Siglo 2 seems to be back. I don't know if it's some part nostalgia or part actual tobacco leaves. And Christian, God bless him at TomTom, right? He picks out, I mean, he's got this magic touch. Whenever he picks out a cigar for me, 99.99% of the time is slightly heavier. It's got slightly more loaded. It's like he picks out the. That's why I say God bless him. He always picks out great cigars. So 2 nights ago, or 3 nights ago, or 2 nights ago, I smoked a Siglo 2. Usman will tell you roughly how long. What is the smoking time for that kind of Vitola? Roughly.
30 minutes.
Sorry.
30 minutes.
Right. So I smoked 2 Siglo 2s in the last. Well, on one day I smoked 2. One was 2 hours 20 minutes.
Wow, you really
The
enjoyed it.
second one that
He wasn't smoking. Stephen, that tells he wasn't smoking. He was actually being Raza. Okay, go on.
well, no. That was slightly audited. That was in front of Christian. I think there was one relight or one touch up. I can't remember if it's a relight or touch up. The second one I smoked in the evening, 2 hours 27 minutes,
Wow.
unaudited.
My questions. Hold on.
Go on.
My question. I understand there was one relight, but did it die other than that as well? And
No.
you were just waiting for an hour, and then that's why
from my perspective, I class a smoke as one where you might like a continuous smoke where you might have to do one relight and one touch up. That's it.
That's fine. That's fine. One or two are fine.
No relight. Sorry. So the first cigar there was no relights. There was just touch ups. The first cigar, 2 hours 20 minutes. There was no relights, and it was constant.
I need to
solid pack sticks, short, very, very shallow cut. In fact, I posted a picture. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Of the second one was the shallowest cut you've ever seen, and it wasn't a punch cut. It was a straight cut, very shallow. Right. Now forget the smoking length, forget the nostalgia. Let me tell you something, which Usman would know. I don't know, Stephen, if you'd know this. Yeah, that's possibly. It's basically, I'll call it a fruit bomb. It's the fruitiest, most aromatic. And the reason why I'm talking so much about it is I'm having a little bit of a pinnacle moment. I don't know what to smoke after that now.
Oh wow. Well,
I really don't know what to smoke. Everything else is just sort of like a tedious smoke.
One of our fans just wrote, I just smoked a Siglo 2 from 2019. I wasn't that impressed. I think the Siglo 6 is way better.
Yeah, smoke more Siglo 6s then.
Okay, and then he wrote Romeo and Juliet wide. I'm not sure what that is. I know Romeo's a little late, but I don't need you need to call him out on the show. But,
no. Good. That's a wonderful thing. If someone has a favorite, they should smoke more of that favorite. That's the thing.
I agree. Right.
Fair point.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. I've smoked the Siglos. I enjoy them. And depending on how I smoke them. This morning, to answer Usman's question, it was either a Davidoff or my CAO, and I picked up my CAO because I figured I needed a nice full body this morning. That was going to last, the 17 hours of the show. So instead of a little Davidoff, Winston Churchill lady. So there you go. But that's really cool. I like the fact that we're the Siglo. So next week, will you be smoking one of those on the air?
My only question is, Raza.
Yes, sir.
Or a comment maybe for the fact that you have that thing at Tom Tom at 2 p.m. I'm just thinking, if it was me, I would have reached there before the show at 1 o'clock. Enjoyed the show for 1 hour, and when they actually started, I would have included everyone in. Wow, that would have been a moment.
My plan is the moment this show ends is to leave, because it's that tobacco rolling is taking place over about 3 hours.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that is my plan.
Right.
My plan is to video some and send it to this channel so that you can post it anyway.
That'd be awesome.
But the original idea, which I was scrambling around this morning, was like, can I get there in time to do this? And I thought, I'll get there and there'll be no cigar rolling. I might as well broadcast from home and then leave.
Go. All right. Yeah, and the other nice thing is, down the road, you can always just broadcast live on the channel and just show people too. But that's very cool. And Christian,
I thought it was something different.
I like it. I agree.
Different.
And really, Christian has to be more considerate of the show, and he needs to just have his rolling run with the show. So when the show starts,
just
the
roll with
rolling
it.
needs to start. Yeah, let's roll with it. Very good. The guest says Romeo and Juliet, why Churchill is amazing. And even the 2023s are smoking really well. So there you go.
I don't know who the guest is. I can only agree. Romeo and Julieta is I have a very complicated relationship with Romeo and Julieta cigars, primarily because the wrappers. I don't know if Smile will agree with me. Most wrappers on a Romeo and Julieta are very thin,
Right.
and there's always some sort of construction issue, and you have to a little bit smoke that cigar in a very refined. I think a Romeo and Julieta requires a refined smoke. Requires you not to smoke too hot, be slightly careful. You have to sort of, I won't say massage the stick, but you have to kind of massage the experience.
Right.
And I got a fabulous Romeo and Julieta White Churchill maybe three weeks ago at number 10 Manchester,
Right.
which I was waxing lyrical about. It was kind of ready to split. It was ready to explode, and just kept working it, kept working
Okay.
it, kept working, and it kept delivering,
So,
kept delivering,
gentlemen,
kept delivering.
gentlemen, one very fun moment for me. I just realized that I talked about the Habanos history of El Rey del Mundo, but I
Right.
lit up a Saint Louis Rey.
and he's the Salmonet. Can you imagine what a normal person's going to do?
No, so
So,
I think he had Ray in his head. He had Ray,
it's
El
it's
Rey Del Mundo,
it's
San Luis Rey.
it's about the fact that instead of picking that one, I picked this one up.
It's
So
okay. It's just dried tobacco leaves in a paper bag.
there we
It's the
go.
same thing.
there it
Same,
goes.
same,
Here
same,
the
but
AI
different.
kicks in. Here the
You
AI
could take
kicks
the
in.
BMW badge and stick Mercedes on. Well, you couldn't do that. Sorry, but
No,
it's
God
You
forbid.
do
No.
not. There's that distinct, beautiful looking, amazing kidney grill that would not let you get mistaken with the fact that you're putting a shitty Mercedes Benz
a
logo
shitty
on.
Mercedes Benz.
Yes,
It's
of course.
like the most engineered brand in the world.
I don't give
Shitty
a shit.
Mercedes Benz.
I
That's
see. As you said,
preference. Yeah, no, that's
my
preference.
preferences. See, I've driven both of them,
Yeah.
and I stand by, and I've owned both of them, and I stand by the fact that shared driving pleasure is a much better thing to drive, which is the logo for BMW, as compared to
Oh,
Mercedes.
And
I look at it.
but they're both just metal and plastic and carbon
Really
Oh,
got
fiber.
yeah, it kicks in again. Stephen, what cigar are you smoking? Sorry.
my usual, my CAO Brazilian Amazon, and
Amazon, amazing.
at some point, CAO will just start sending me like truckloads of this stuff because I literally smoke like these all week. But I was gonna go for my Davidoff,
Okay.
late evening, but I was like, I haven't had a steak this morning, so I was like, and I need it with the late evening Davidoff. So I like to have a heavy meal. So
Fair point.
all right,
Fair
let's see.
point.
The guest says sorry. But you're all wrong. BMW and Mercedes-Benz both want to become a Porsche when they grow up. That's very cute. Very cute. Okay.
Well, in that case, the only thing I
Well,
can tell
obviously
you
you
is
don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, you know fuck all about cars.
listen, brother.
Whoever you are.
Before we go in there, to the guest, I take what you're saying, but the problem is Porsche is yet to be grown as a Volkswagen. So it's so if I own a Volkswagen, I don't need to have a Porsche because that is an offshoot of the whole thing.
Having said that, there is one thing I will agree with. Yeah,
Yeah.
even though the guest said that, the car that you basically is one car that you need is a Porsche. And when I say need, it's like
Right.
it's a sports car, it's a comfort car,
Yeah.
I mean, a Porsche is a great car. So let me
Yeah.
not say that right, yeah. But
Agreed.
to say that BMW and Mercedes want to grow up and be a Porsche, I think that's slightly fan theory. Yeah, it's not reality.
Yeah. I
It's
got
not
to tell you,
reality.
we have a BMW. A buddy of mine has the new BMW little sports car cover, and you drive the heck out of that. The Porsche that I love is the 2021 Heritage Porsche.
Uh-huh.
The one that they did the tribute to the Heritage. That one I've
Yeah.
driven and I like, and I vacillate like I want one, but I'm like it's practical and it's not practical. But that out of all the Porsches is my favorite Porsche. I think it's because it brings me back once again to the childhood of the '60s and '70s and stuff.
Who did
So to
that
me, it's
song,
fascinating.
Stephen? Who did that song? Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Who did that song? Was that Carly
That was
Simon?
Yeah, Lord, won't you buy? Wait, that was a country and western song. Hold on,
That
let
was
me
a
look it
country
up.
western song. Lord,
Mhm.
won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? My friends have all got Porsches. I want to make amends. So that's the song that comes into my brain. Someone mentions Mercedes and Porsches. By the way, no mention of BMW in that song.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because exclusive
Oh
stuff doesn't
wow.
get mentioned in the regular
Was it Carly
day-to-day
Simon?
conversation.
Well, no, Janis Joplin did a
Janis
cover.
Joplin.
No,
Sorry.
she did that was her cover. I'm going to see who the original person was. The original person that said, "Okay, here you go. Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz?" from the song Mercedes Benz by Janis Joplin, which was co-written
Janet.
with Bobby Newirth and Michael McClure. The
Yeah.
song asked for a Mercedes Benz, a color TV, a night out on the town as a proof of God's love. I'm right here. The song is recorded and takes just ring the other guy. So yes, so Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz is from this Janis Joplin. Everybody, very good, Rizza. So there you go. I remember
Anyway,
that. That's a funny
only
song.
because our dear guest called the guest or whatever it is. What is it?
It's
Let's
called The
see.
Guess.
The
The
guest.
Guess. We have to guess who he
He
is.
mentioned this. How's your cigar smoking, Usman? Your Saint Louis Rey.
Saint Louis Ray, SLR. Oh, it is amazing actually.
What was the regional edition there?
Aluminium, the German.
German edition.
Yes, the German region.
So
Very nice.
extra wide ring gauge. We're talking 56.
No. This is 54, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, wait a minute. Here we go. The guest says, "I think Riz is a bit hurt. Porsche and Lexus battle back and forth every year for the
Lexus. Oh,
most reliable
listen.
car."
You mentioned
That's a bullshit.
Lexus. Someone mentioned
Yeah.
Lexus in
Yeah.
this
Wait.
conversation. They know fuck all.
And here's the thing. He
They
goes,
know
"I am
fuck
a."
all, right?
I got.
Whoever it is,
He's.
you know
Wait.
fuck all. You
I'm not
mentioned
done. He goes.
Lexus.
I went. He's. I am an ASC certified mechanic, and now I am a
Mechanic
dealer.
war yesterday. ASC certified yesterday.
Yes, wait. He's a dealer. So you were talking about mushrooms earlier. We should talk to him about that. But you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about. You know what? I agree with him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But it's good that he can admit that on the show.
I know fuck all about Mercedes and BMW.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what kind of dealer is this guy? Let's go back to the mushroom topic
He's a
we were having
wheeler
earlier.
dealer.
As a wheeler dealer.
So Raza, this is a 52 by 140.
52 by 140. Was that a Pyramides?
Mm-hmm.
It was a Pyramides.
It is called the Saint Louis Ray Bellicoso.
Very nice.
It's the Bellicosos. It's the same Vitola as
No, it's a Campanas. It's not as the Bellicosos. It's the Campanas, which is a 52. That's why it's a 52.
Interesting.
I'm gonna have to take some hints and tips from. So here's a question to our resident sommelier. This is going to be relevant to me next Wednesday. So let's see. I'm gonna have to quiz you, and I'm not quizzing you on purpose to catch you out. I'm quizzing you because I would like some info on this. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be at the, as you know, I'm going to be at the Robusto Challenge next Wednesday. The Boysdale Robusto Challenge, run by Hunters and Francow here in the UK. Now, as many cigars as I smoked, I can't answer these questions. So maybe Usman can answer these questions.
Right.
In terms of the Robusto Vitola,
50 ringgit.
How many Cuban brands have a Robusto?
7.
Ooh.
You're saying there are 7 Robusto-sized cigars.
Yeah.
Are you able to knock them out from the top of your head? Well, we got the Partagas D4.
Hold on. Let's start it. First, the global brands, right? The global brands, Cohiba Robusto, the actual Robusto as I call it, right? Then D4 in Partagas, Hoyo de Monterrey, Epico number 2. Then you have Short Churchill in right? So then you have Juan Lopez Selection number 2. Then you have Bolivar Royal Corona, and then you have Ramon Iones Specially Selected. 7.
And a Galanes is a Galanes. It is not a Robusto size.
It's not a Robusto. It's a 52 ringgit.
So those 7 brands are the only Robusto. Are there any regional editions that are Robusto size?
See, again, regional editions don't count. When the blind challenges happen, the blind challenges always have a very clear guideline. The discussion of all of those types have to happen through the regular production cigars, because the other ones you would not be able to find. Given the fact that they are giving you two Robustos and the pricing they've kept it as 38 pounds, I would be surprised there would be a Cohiba Robusto in it. And since there are three different like the contests they are putting in, I'm guessing they will be all six except Cohiba. But that is again just my guess. I cannot say as of now with certainty.
So let me just explain for the clarity of the audience and also for Stephen, who's looking very, very puzzled, right? Yeah. I am going to a Robusto, let's call it a blind tasting challenge, which Usman knows about. Okay. Now, the point of the blind tasting, now, here's what I'm good at and here's what I'm not good at when it comes to cigars, right? I'm not that good at Vitolas. I am not that good at the technical data behind cigars. But my personal forte, I think, is that I can taste a cigar and tell you what I'm getting out of it, the notes I'm getting out of it, the complexity of notes I'm getting out of it, and to smoke it in different ways. Retrohale, no retrohale, deep retrohale, because what you're doing is you're trying to extract the oils in your sensory system, sometimes in your mouth, sometimes at the back of your mouth, sometimes in your sinus, sometimes in your nose. So you get different senses of these cigars, right? Okay. And of course, the quality of a cigar, you can tell to some extent from the light up. You can see if it's got a good draw, if it's got good construction. You can look at it visually. You can see what the wrapper is about, etc., etc., etc. And if you add all those things together, you get what's called a blind tasting challenge without a cigar, a cigar without a band on it, because
Right.
that's just a piece of paper that you can throw away anyway. They're all the same. They're just dead leaves. Now, that's what I'm going to. And Usman's been very kind enough to tell me that there are only 7 different choices really in current production, in current
Yes,
stock.
in regular production, I said.
In regular production. Sorry,
Okay.
I misspoke. In regular production. So
Yeah,
these
because
are
there is an H. Upmann Robusto, which comes as part of your Habanos selection box. Because if you see, there is a Habanos selection box also, which has, if I'm not wrong, 5 or 6 Robustos. And that includes the H. Upmann Robusto as well, which is not the regular production Robusto, and you don't find them as part of your regular productions. Hence the exclusion of that out of these 7.
well, God knows what we're going to be offered, and I'm going to give you some feedback, and obviously I'm going to take videos and photos, etc., etc., etc. Right? But sometimes, to some extent, you can tell by the color of the wrapper. To some extent, you can tell from the draw. Just even on a dry draw, you can tell what's going on.
I can tell you a few things. See, out of these, there are 2 brands which are categorized as the strong brands, or in terms of the strength. So, which is Bolivar and Ramona Yunus. You can very easily distinguish both of them from the Short Churchill or the Epicure number 2, which are the lightest of the side. And then comes your Juan Lopez Selection Especial, or the other one, which is your which one was that?
Spartacus D4.
Spartacus D4 again. So Spartacus D4 is also amongst the strong ones, right? So in the middle,
Yeah, I'm surprised you
Cohiba.
didn't mention it. That's one of the strongest
Yeah,
ones.
yeah. So well, technically yes and no, because Ramonion is specially selected and Partagas are sometimes almost similar kind of strength, and they compete in different vitolas. So Bolivar Royal Corona is slightly lighter than both of them, but still stronger than a Cohiba Robusto and a Juan Lopez selection number 2, which then goes down to Romeo Julieta, and the lightest being the Epicure number 2. So if you go by the elimination method, and if you're able to do it, there's a high likelihood you can pick it up. Also, if you know and notice, the Royal Coronas are somewhat box pressed, so you can check from the shape of it that it is slightly box pressed. So that is that. Similarly, so that allows you to differentiate it from the D4 or the
Yeah, I mean, there's that visual inspection, there's that
exactly.
olfactory inspection, there's the light
Exactly.
up inspection. But the part that I'm not understanding is how is this a competition? Because it's not about identifying the cigar
It
as
is.
much as it is scoring the cigar.
No, no, no.
Because
So how are you gonna
so
uh
I would imagine. So you tell me
mhm.
if I'm right or wrong. I would imagine I'd have an answer sheet that say, what do you get
Yes.
out of aroma? Points out of aroma, points out of fruitiness, nuttiness, whatever. Right, the different aromatics, if you feel like, or botanicals. Okay, construction, etc. Now the competition, apparent, the way I think is the competition is you're trying to get as close to the score as the tasting board in Cuba got to for that cigar. Whoever's closest to their scoring is the one who
But
wins.
but that also means that at the end you have to identify the cigar. If you have gotten close to anything but not identified the cigar right, that means you're off. So the scoring doesn't really help. So it has to be, so you might have slightly lesser score because everyone's palate is different. But if you're
That's right.
able to, but if you're able to identify the cigar right, that is a much bigger thing.
I don't know. This is a first foray for me. I don't know how that's a competition. If you say if it's a long ash competition, whoever can smoke, it's easy. Whoever smoked the cigar the longest, right? Yeah, but
Right.
this one is going to be a bit difficult. So the reason I was talking about this on the show, and Stephen's still looking puzzled, is to get some free info, free insight. And the other question is, Usman, how would you do in a competition like that? From your perspective, how would you do? Would you be able to nail it,
I
or
told you. I told you.
I missed
I
it?
will. The physical inspection, the first. That's the first. So physical
No, no,
inspection.
no, no, no. I didn't say. What do you think your chances would be in a competition? I don't know how you would do it. How would you fare in that kind of
How would you fare?
competition?
Like, where would you rank? Would
Where
you
would
be
you
like, would
rank?
you
Do
win?
you
Yeah. Would you
think?
be?
Do you think in a blind tasting, first of all, you'd be able to distinguish those 7 different robustos?
I would say out of 10, 7 to 8 would be my guess that I'd be able to figure it and nail it out. Yes.
That's
and
cool.
and that's and that's purely because now we're talking of robustos. Had you talked about some other vitola, I would be slightly different because there are 2 3 vitolas which I love, and robustos is one of the most flavored of mine. The most number of cigars that I've smoked ever are the Cohiba Robustos, the D4s, the Royal Coronas, the Ramon Yuan Specially Selected, the Epico number twos. So that is, see, so out of the entire Romeo and Julieta's Churchill's linear, I love the short Churchill and the actual Churchill, right? So I can immediately tell what a short Churchill is. Similarly, in the Epico line in Oyo, I love the Epico 2 the most as compared to the number 1 of these Epico Especial. So I can actually tell you if that is the Epico number 2. In Partagas, I like the E2 more than the D4, but then Partagas is a very distinct flavor, so you can pick it up. The mono specially selected is where I can mistake. Juan Lopez is selection number 2 is where I can mistake. But most likely in a Bolivar Royal Corona and also the Cohiba Robusto, I wouldn't, more likely I wouldn't be at fault because the maximum amount of Robustos I've ever smoked or gifted at the time it was easy was the Cohiba Robusto.
So in the UK, maybe 13, 14 years ago, Robusto was the preferred size. Most cigars, most people
It
would
was
smoke
global.
Robustos.
It was the global favorite size
It's a
as
global
well.
favorite size, but
And
I don't know if still
even,
that's the I don't think it's the case anymore because there is so
even
many
today,
early Vitolas, right? Yeah.
even
Uh,
today, the maximum number of cigars sold by Habanos and the highest number of cigars sold in a Vitola or in a brand is a Robusto, and that's D4. It used to be Monte Cristo number 2 in the past, but for the last 3 4 years, the maximum amount of cigars sold in a Robusto size or in their entire Vitilario is a D4, which is a Robusto. So
yeah.
with still,
But that's the weird thing. I hardly. It's not hard. I kind of don't really smoke Robustos anymore. But anyway, that's just because of market availability in the UK. You can smoke
Exactly.
anything, really. You can smoke anything you feel like.
Yeah.
Anything you could think of, you can get in the UK one way or the other,
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
very good quality, in fact. So,
Agreed.
you know,
And
you
let me
tend not
just
to
go
get.
back to something you guys were talking about earlier about the Romeo and Juliets. The problem is that the
I mean, if
Dominican
you want to
version.
drive, a car, just drive a Lexus. They're cheap. They're everywhere.
Wow. Not letting
Or a
that one
Peugeot.
go, are
But
you?
if you are discerning, drive a BMW or a Mercedes.
Hmm. Or our Porsche, maybe. Well, maybe not. Okay. Anyway, here's what I was going to say is the Romeo and Juliet as we get here are the Dominican brand, and anyone you
Yeah.
smoke is like smoking paper. They're like there's no flavor, no taste, no nothing on the Romeo and Juliets here.
It's just one of the crappiest of the non-Cuban
Yeah.
brand
Which is
cigars.
a shame.
Yes, exactly. See,
It's a
see,
shame.
I was while I was talking about the history of El Rey del Mundo, one thing that I forgot to mention was that there is a non-Cuban version of it as well, and that comes from Honduras. The
Hmm.
fun fact is that out of all the Cuban brands that are available in the non-Cuban format also, the
Yep.
one that I really like the most, and I've smoked pretty much all of them, and the one that I've liked the most is the Robusto's Extra or a Robusto something of the El Rey del Mundo. It comes in a
Yep.
tissue paper kind of a thing, and they are nice like anything.
Yeah, I've smoked those, and I was going to say there's certain brands that translate from Cuba to non-Cuban that are excellent. Romeo
Yeah.
Juliet is not one. The El Rey is one. There's a couple others, but it's hit or miss.
Partagas is not Cohiba. Red Dot is
Nope,
completely off
crap.
when it
Yeah,
comes to that. It's completely crap. I'm sorry.
yeah, it is.
That's how it is. The Ojo de Monterrey, Excalibur, and all of those, they're all like completely off the charts for me
Yeah,
when it comes to those. They've tried the Trinidad. In the Trinidad, there is this line they've created, Esperi,
right.
which is slightly okayish, if you may
Yeah, but
want to.
for what they charge,
Is
slightly
not okay.
okayish. Right. It has to be perfect. And I
Yeah,
think when they make them in the non-Cubans for this market or whatever, I think they're
yeah.
just like, listen, the Americans are stupid. They'll just smoke whatever. The problem is that Americans that have smoked Cubans, they go, oh, I'm going to try a Romeo and Juliet or whatever, blah 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 blah, and then they smoke their brother or sister brand, and we're all like, this is crap. And then, like people make fun of me all the time because I smoke my CAO Brazilian, but I'm like, it's the closest thing other than doing a Padron 1926 that's going to get me to
Absolutely.
a Cuban cigar. So it is what it is.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. Totally agreed.
and that's part of the issue. And I think that's something that the Cuban market or the Dominican market needs to understand. If you make better cigars, that would be wonderful because
Yeah.
really you're not educating. You're just saying, here's a bunch of crap, smoke it, and people don't know any better. And then, Cigar Aficionado will rate these things. And I'm like, how are you rating paper? When they rate non-Cubans and they rate
The way to
it's
rate
like,
paper is to see who pays you the most money for putting the
and,
cigar
and that's
higher
what,
up the
and that's what
list.
they do. Yeah. The Fuentes and all of them, it's branding. If I come out like Rocky Patel, we talked about their $100 stick. If I come out with branding and we have the RZA Steve Usman cigar, okay. And
Fair
we
enough.
brand it right, people will pay $200 a stick for it. It could be crap, but if it's good, people will enjoy paying $200 a stick. And that's what I think the cigar companies still don't understand to this day. Cuba gets it, but the rest of them don't,
Yeah, but
in my opinion.
The Cubans are lucky from the perspective that
Right.
the the physical. I've said this. I say this in a joke. But I'll say it seriously. I don't really care if anyone agrees with me or not. Yeah, but there is something in that leaf, in the Cuban leaf,
Hmm.
generally speaking, that has a different product quality to it. Everyone else plays this kind of catch-up game
Right.
to mix and match. I mean, the nearest, honestly, the nearest I've seen. I haven't. I'm not qualified enough to speak about Padron cigars. People wax lyrical about Padron. I've really just
All right.
smoked one or two maximum, and to be honest, they were forgettable. So I haven't. I don't know if I've smoked a
Right.
good one or a bad one, right? But the ones that I keep going on about, these Davidoff, because they've got so many variations
Yeah.
of permutations, What they're trying to do is, in another sense, try and give you that complexity, and they kind of succeed. They don't hit the aroma notes as far as I'm concerned, but they hit the complexity notes, and that's quite good fun. You've got something complex, something
Yeah.
interesting to smoke.
Now, this gentleman, Ali K, says, what about the Dominican Monte Cristos? I've had that Especial Monte Cristo from the Dominican that the fan gave. And I got a box. And I got to tell you, I actually enjoy those. Those to me are very good. Now, I don't know if it's
The Monte Cristo non-Cuban ones are reasonable as compared to all the other ones. Agreed.
right. And the Especial that I smoked, I think it was last
Yes.
week. So it's a good smoke. So to answer Ali K, if you can get a hold of one of those, I would recommend it. If you can't get a hold of a Cuban, I think you're totally fine. So that's how I would look at it.
Buy a
So,
cheap
yeah.
Cuban.
Huh?
Buy a cheap Cuban.
But well, we did, and then look what happened. And then you have to marry them, and then they have kids. And it's a whole thing. It's
Just have a Ramon Alone specially selected.
There you go.
And I will just kick ass on anything.
There you go.
Mhm.
Or you just whatchamacallit, you just buy a CAO Brazilian Amazon.
Oh yeah.
It's
Agreed.
a non-Cuban. Whereas when I see you in London, I'm going to bring you not a box because I know you won't smoke. I'll bring you like 4 or 5 of the CAO Brazilians, and you can smoke them, and you can tell me what crap they are, or maybe like
We could do better. I can watch you smoking them.
yes,
See, he's
I'm
like,
going to smoke
I
Cubans.
am
I'm
not
coming to London.
venturing. He's like,
Yeah,
I'm not venturing into that territory. Do not bring those to me.
that's right. That's fine. I was going to bring him a
I
nice
must
gift.
have had a CAO Brazilian at some
Apparently
stage.
not, because even Usman likes them, and a lot of the guys who smoke Cubans will tell you they're a great smoke. And
Yeah,
you're the one
actually,
who's yeah, yeah. So I'm going to bring you a
has
couple.
a lot of lines. CEO has a lot of lines, Rosa. The
Right.
only one that is worth is the CEO
Let me find a
Brazilian.
box.
Oh, he's going to go for.
Oh no!
There he goes.
Oh,
Well, if
no.
you've smoked anything other than the Brazilian Amazon, then yeah, like they had the Soprano brand, they had this
Yeah.
brand, they have this, the worst.
Now, I showed this to Usman some while ago. This was about maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This
Okay.
is really the only Brazilian cigar I've ever smoked. And to be very honest with you, it was good fun when I was smoking it, right?
All right, what is it? Let's see. Handmade premium from Brazil. Okay,
Mhm. Interesting.
very
Donna
nice.
Flor.
Oh, I know Donna. Hey, Donna, how you been?
35
Okay,
annos.
very nice.
My
Do you have
recollection
one?
is these were really quite good.
So why aren't you smoking them?
Because he's already smoked them.
Man. It's like, yeah, okay, that's done. What's next?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Listen. All things said and done, right? On a serious level, if you've got audience members living in the UK, Usman will know this. Stephen knows this as well.
Yeah.
We're spoilt. We're spoilt
Yeah.
here. We're spoilt for choice in terms of Cuban leaf. We're spoiled. If you want to smoke
Kudos,
You
non-Cuban,
keep talking.
kudos,
You
kudos,
guys keep talking. I'm
kudos
running
to
to the
John
loo. You
Cleveland.
guys keep talking. I'm gonna take myself
if
out for a moment.
yeah. If you want to smoke, non-Cuban, New World, whatever you want to call it here. And by the way, Usman, I had a conversation with someone recently as to non-Cuban or Cuban. What is the right word to use? Which one is sort of like?
New World and non-Cuban. What are you going to use out of those two?
I would prefer to use New World. People are now beginning to say that by saying non-Cuban, it sounds almost inauthentic. So Habanos have branded it so well that if you say non-Cuban, it means not from Habanos, right? Okay. And New World in itself is trying to find an identity, right? But I would say if you're smoking a Dominican cigar, say you're smoking a Dominican cigar. If you're smoking a Honduran cigar,
The problem with that is that you're never sure if it
where
is
the leaves are
100%.
from.
Yeah, if it is 100% Dominican cigar. With the Cubans and with the Habanos, there is 100% authenticity and surety that the filler, binder, and the wrapper all are from Cuba. Whereas with all of these New World cigars, like the non-Cuban brands, it is almost 98, 99% that they do not use the single origin
It
in
almost
the cigars.
no, but it almost plays into Habanos's marketing hand. If you say, okay, it almost creates it's us and another category, if you know what I mean, right?
Right.
So it's Habanos and everyone else against the rest of the world, if you know what I mean, right? And I think it kind of feels like the tide is slightly shifting. Uh, cigar manufacturers, cigar owners want to have a definitive. Like, for example, I'll give the example is Davidoff. One of the Davidoffs I smoked recently was the Escurio.
Right.
Okay.
It was actually a great cigar, to be very honest with you. It wasn't perfect, but it was a good cigar. Great cigar. Okay, not great, good. More than average. More than average. Okay. Now, when the guy from Davidoff was explaining to us the origin of the leaves, I think they were Brazilian filler, Ecuadorian wrapper, but rolled in Dominican Republic, as
Right.
Davidoffs are, right? Okay. So put together, assembled. Now, that's like, to me, if in terms of branding, if you remember when Apple, this is when Steve Jobs was still around, right? Yeah. So Apple computers, on the boxes, it would say designed in California. It wouldn't say made in
Ah.
China. It would
Right.
say
Right.
designed. So instead of even attacking the where it's made, they would just say designed in California, right? Okay.
Right.
And some of the more successful and older cigar companies like Davidoff, right? They don't really need to. They don't really qualify where they're. I mean, they're made in Dominican Republic, right? But it's Davidoff as a whole
Mhm.
separate brand in
Right.
itself. It's so strong. So it's a Davidoff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Now the other brand recently, which I'm finding is doing things quite smartly, and I've said this before, is EGM,
Yes.
especially with the EGM sort of branding launch in Dubai, which they had recently. Usman knows about that.
Yes.
They
Yes.
through a big party. I'm telling you, sitting here in the UK, right? Okay, there are people, younger cigar smokers, getting into this sort of like cigar smoking habit or
Mhm.
industry or it's lifestyle, whatever, however you want. Sometimes you go in for the lifestyle, but then you stay for a longer period of time, and sometimes it'll always
Agreed.
just be lifestyle. But there's some of the younger cigar smokers, they never really question it, and they perceive EGM as sort of like a Cuban brand,
Right.
right? Okay, and I had this
Despite the
conversation,
fact that they very clearly marketed as a Puro Dominican.
Right.
and that's fine, and that's fine. I had the very, in the nicest way possible. I had this conversation clearly with the owner, Ettore,
Mhm.
and I said, one of the very, very smart things you've done, which is not really spoken about, it's sort of like just a mythic kind of thing. You've left it in the air that because this brand was formed in Cuba, that this cigar is kind of magically. It's sort of like an elephant in the room. No one really says
The
it
brand
yet.
was
Okay.
the brand was not formed in Cuba. It was
I think
like
their
kind of,
launch party, their
yes,
launch
no party
party
happened in, yes.
at the El Bleco which you visited, right? Okay. Oh,
Yes.
and by the way, did you find their cigars being sold there?
Yes, sir. I did.
Right. So to everyone who said to me in London that EGM is not sold in Cuba, you're wrong.
Right.
I can vouch for that.
There's one or two names who will be slightly hiding in shame. I will not mention them out loudly here.
You sure you don't want to mention them? Because
Usman knows exactly what I'm talking about, right?
do you want to text
But
it to
but
me and
but
I
let
can
me put
mention
it.
them?
Let me put it. No, no. Let me put it down to incredulity. Yeah, people just
Right.
couldn't believe it in the nicest way. Yeah, but
Right.
the roving agent Usman has been there. Our man in Havana has been there,
Yep.
and he's seen these cigars being sold from behind the counter in a humidor, something like this. I would imagine something like this.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm, mhm.
and the Cuban government hasn't cracked down. There's no big problem. There's no big issue. People said no, it wouldn't be allowed.
They've been doing their party for the last 5 years there.
I'm not talking about the party. I'm talking about the
No, no.
sale of
So the
non-Cuban
anniversary.
cigars in Cuba.
So they've been like kind of doing their anniversary parties there, and that talks about that the brand and the entire thing has not only been there as sold, but they've been celebrating it for the last 5 years.
Fine,
Okay.
but there were some industry stalwarts in the UK who couldn't quite believe, even though they've been to Cuba 100 times, that EGM cigars were being sold under the Cuban government's nose.
Hmm.
Right?
With their
So
permission,
that
I'm sure.
myth can be dispelled. You said, yes, that's happening.
Yeah.
Okay, no big deal, no big issue,
Right.
no fuss, no firing squad. That is happening. So, all right. Anyway, the reason we go on to that topic is that is a very successful brand, it's a very polished brand. I love their marketing. I like their packaging. It's very understated, overstated. Very, even Usman, the bags that the EGM bags, these black
Yes,
paper
yes.
bags, have got the fleur de lis in every corner,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that fleur de lis is sort of a mark of excellence associated with Cuba to some extent,
Yes,
right? Because
you're
the
right.
royal
You're right.
lineage,
You're right.
the French Spanish royal lineage kind of thing, right? Okay, so those very subliminal marketing hits have portrayed a certain image. So the reason that we got onto EGM is because I was saying that in the UK you can smoke most Cubans. If you
Right.
want to smoke New World, you can get New World. But I'm seeing it's these highly marketed, very smartly branded. I won't say highly branded, very smartly branded. Because there are some other brands out there that spend a lot of money on marketing and packaging, and they're shit cigars. With
Right.
EGM, for example, they're not saying that this is the best cigar in the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? They're just saying, there you go. There's a product, there's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that
Yeah.
you're buying with EGM.
Right.
Right.
And
So
Morcillo Brazilian, let's say, is not a lifestyle. You're smoking a cigar. Davidoff is more of a lifestyle.
Davidoff
Rocky
is
Agreed.
Patel,
lifestyle.
I'm not sure what Rocky Patel is. But they're
Oh, that's a
being honest.
cigar. Oh, that's a
Yeah,
cigar you're talking about.
who knew it was a cigar? And I know his brother makes a line of cigars. I haven't tried his, but I had a friend who
AJ
smoked
Patel.
AJ. Thank you, AJ. He was not thrilled with that one either. I think his brother really is.
AJ, hi. How are you?
AJ is gonna kill you for saying that.
AJ, come on the show. AJ,
AJ
just
won't let
come on
me
the
into the
show.
shop again. It's
So,
easier to do that.
but no, what's nice about our show is that we talk about everything, whether politics, cigars, whatever. And so some fans agree and some fans don't. But it's one of those things where somebody that's new to the cigar world may be like, oh, I can try that. Like, Ali was saying, what do you think of Monte Cristo? So the Monte Cristo Especial is a good smoke. And
Special.
then said, well, because it's special. And like I said, I wasn't sure, and I was like, oh, okay. But the rest of the Monte Cristo line over here is okay. It's not like, oh my God, I've got to go get a Monte Cristo. The problem in the
Mhm.
States is, we can't get cute. They'll ship them to you if they don't get caught. It's great, but it's just easier to smoke them when you're out of the country and you can enjoy them. Because even when you get them shipped to you, everyone's like, are they real? Are they this? Are they that? And then blah, blah.
Yeah.
They go through all this ridiculous crap. So to me, it's sort of like you bet in the US, we just try to get the best non-Cuban New World, whatever you want to call them, to smoke. When you travel outside the United States, you can enjoy whatever Cubans you want. And like I said, when I hear the prices RZA tells me in the UK and I go to Dubai or I go to Asia, the prices are lower there. So I'm not sure if they're just like, hey, these guys are gullible. We'll just charge them up to you know what. Or do they have better deals with other countries? So I find that interesting.
Well, it's purely because of the taxation structure in the United
In the
Kingdom.
UK?
Yes,
Okay.
which is the reason for that. Because if you talk about the pricing in the Asia or the Middle East, the pricing of those cigars in the city versus in the duty frees is again 3 times different. Because
Gotcha.
you would find a box of, let's say, what should I say? Okay, yeah. So if there's a box that you're gonna pay like $300 for
Yeah.
that in the duty free, you're gonna pay somewhat around $900 to $1,000 in the city for
That's
the same
crazy.
box.
Yeah, so that's
So
crazy.
so that's again the taxation there is also the similar kind, but
Right.
because you have the availability on the duty frees and all the other places, you can get them.
Right.
But the pricing in UK is absolutely insane in most cases. Having said that, I think it is 2 p.m. London time, and our dear resident, His Highness, has already started to show us signs. We
No,
can
you can do if you want,
today.
because the cigar rolling is, as far as I know, it's going to go on for about 2.5 hours. So even
That's all right, sir. You have a
now
35
that I've already missed it for the show, I
Right.
can take the hit and leave in the next whatever. It's fine.
Yeah. He's not stressed now because he couldn't do it. And we listen, all the fans and me especially, I
You see,
appreciate
that's
it.
what I was trying to explain. It was
Yeah.
kind of just neither here in terms of
Yeah.
leading. It was just neither here nor there. So I thought the best thing to do was to sit tight and do the show, then leave.
Okay.
Oh, and wait, and Abdullah is saying, do you think Spain has the best prices? And I'm not sure if he's asking for I guess he's talking about Cuban cigars.
Cigars, of course. Well, ideally, Andorra has the best prices, even better than Spain.
Okay.
But then Andorra has certain restrictions on you to buy beyond a certain number of cigars in a day and bring them out of Andorra into other
Okay.
countries. So yes, in essence, Spanish prices are the best prices in the European market.
Going to Spain, everybody. Anyway, so hey, so in the beginning of the show, you asked a question, and we can just do this real quick. Talk about mushrooms, and we were joking. We're saying about no. To answer your question from the beginning, I've eaten mushrooms like what you put with food. I've never tried psychedelic mushrooms. We're talking about psychedelics before you came on, Usman. So because
Okay.
he had a rainbow background going. He
Oh,
was like his colors were changing every few seconds, and I thought it was very cool. And then he put his normal up for consistency. So we were
okay.
talking about if someone's on psychedelics watching this on YouTube, they're gonna be like, "Dude, these guys are like they're really tuned in." So we thought
Okay.
that's where that came from. So there you go. Now,
Now,
oh, look at you! Look, he looks like Casper the Friendly Ghost. So
yeah.
now before we leave, what's going on with India and Pakistan? Because we got to do a little geopolitical. Why don't they give you water anymore?
They're just being fancy pants to each other. That's it. Nothing
Oh,
else.
okay. That's
Yeah,
it. All right.
yeah.
Just
It's
thought I'd
just
ask.
both sides. Few people trying to make sure they're
There's some
given
protests
due,
in London
they're,
outside the High
they're,
Commission
they're given
yesterday.
due importance. They're given due importance
Okay.
and gain popularity. That's what I think about it. So as simple as
Gotcha.
that.
All right. I was just curious.
Look. Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way.
I can't be too much bothered about it because it's just politics.
Okay.
The politics is that Tom Tom is a 5-minute walk from the Pakistan High Commission.
Oh,
Right.
nice.
So what are you trying to tell us exactly? You're going to do next week's
I'm
show from
saying,
there?
you can read into that whatever you feel like.
All
Okay,
right. So
sure. We will. All right, Zay. Gentlemen, I think because we should let Rizzy get to his rolling, I'm talking
Yeah.
of cigars.
Yeah.
It's been very fun to see everybody. It's always good to have you both here. As we say, Gio, gentlemen, it's always a pleasure. To all the fans, thank you so much. This will be rebroadcasted later this afternoon. We'll send it out
please
to you
don't.
guys. You can send it to the.
Okay.
We will. We're under contract. We have
Once
to.
is enough.
I know, really, but some people like to watch it twice because they want that suffering. The masochists just like to watch it more than once. I don't know what to tell you. So we want to thank everybody for watching. If you're on the podcast, it goes out live on Sunday mornings wherever you get your podcast. If you don't want to see our pretty faces, I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't, you can hear it on the podcast. If not, every Saturday morning live at whatever time it is that we all put it out. And we will see you all next week. Don't forget to subscribe and like. And to my two brothers, thank you so much for being here. It's always good to see you, gentlemen. And as we say, Gio to everybody, and we will see you all next week. And we'll go from there. Gentlemen, have a great day. Fans, have a great day. Cheers, everybody.